yeah. Shall we start? Hello. Hello, everyone. Welcome. So, this is our second session. And before starting our session, we have few announcements regarding our future programs. So, the first thing is,
Charu, sorry to interrupt, but can you just make this it in the slideshow format?
yeah,
Thank you.
is it okay? Right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So, this is our next coming program, which is regarding the monocotyledons plant retreat, starting from 30th November to 3rd December 2023. The highlights of the program is about there is an 3-day in-depth seminar on monocotyledons plant group using the personal evolution module, the sensation method, and classical approach. There will be case discussions, yoga sessions, and meditative process, and lot of self-awareness techniques will be handled in this retreat with nature walks. And this is going to be a special program from our homeopathic musings. We have very good speakers and mentors for this program. So the next thing is, this is our second upcoming program, that is from classroom to clinic. This is a 6 months intensive course which is specially designed for the students and early practitioners and homeopaths returning back to the practice after a long break. So, and this is going to be a good treat for all the beginners and students who are very keen to start their practice, and it is going to streamline all your practicing skills and whatever the problems you are facing practically in your practice, and this all will be addressed in this course with a special mentorship program also. So you have a lot of highlights in this program. So you are going to have an hand holding and personalized training sessions with mentors. You will be getting an complimentary software for valid for about 6 months. Then you will getting the books and medicines with discounts. You have a good opportunity to attend live cases in this course also. So there will be an e-certificate will be provided to all the participants. So, and also you can have the recordings of all the sessions which is going to be happen in this 6 months of period for next 1 year. And this program is going to start by March 2013. The speakers will be plan group using the personal evolution
Dr.
Preety Shah module, the
and Dr.
sensation method
Prajakta,
and classical approach.
Dr. Kamlesh,
There
and
will be
Ms.
case discussions, yoga sessions, and meditative process, and lot of self-awareness techniques will be handled
And
in
finally,
this retreat with
when we come
nature
to
walks.
today's session,
And this is going to be a special program from
we are going to so, and when we coming to this today's session, and today's session is going to be about case taking, where Dr. Preety Shah is going to discuss and explain about all the techniques and skills regarding the case taking process. And regarding Dr. Preety Shah is a well-known speaker and practitioner. She practices along with Dr. Prajakta since 15 years, and they have been the heart and soul of healing harmony, where the homeopathic holistic healing initiative is done by them together. They practice and teach classical homeopathy, sensation method, personal evolution method, and with all this combined, they are also have a learning platform called Homeopathy Musings, through which they are conducting many workshops and seminars for budding homeopaths. And it is Dr. Preety Shah has a very good hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. So it's well known that Dr. Preety Shah is already a well-known speaker who has well trained under Dr. Shankaran and Dr. Mahesh Gandhi, and she has been completed her fellowship in homeopathy psychiatry, and she has completed the Shankaran Gurukul, which is a flagship program, and she has been conducting many provings and many retreat workshop along with the wise process, and she has been also an facilitator for this Dr. Shankaran's wise process also. So I think before moving on to the proper session, I request all the participants to mute your audios and keep your videos on so that it would be better for interactions. So please don't make any scribbles on the screens. Keep making your notes and share your experience. Enjoy. And I'm happy to invite Preety for the meeting.
Thanks, Charu. Thanks for your kind introduction. And basically, I really appreciate the poise with which Charu was speaking and discussing. I don't have that, so I'm going to change the pace of the session. But thank you so much, Charu, for doing this. It's a little odd to hear from you this way, but regardless, let's get started. As you all might have noticed, this is our second session, which is dedicated and focused for our, young homeopaths or early practitioners or people coming back to practice after a long time. We had Dr. Kamlesh last month, and who spoke about, pathological cases and how homeopathy can help in there. And I'm going to be touching base today on case taking. So this is the basic thing, we've all learned about it. It has, There is so much that has been spoken about it. There is so much importance that is given to it during our homeopathic training. But it seems like we are never able to demystify this, right? This is the first crucial step to the homeopathic healing that we would like to offer to our patients. So today, in the little time that I have, what I'm going to try and do is to try and make this a little bit more practical to you, to give you some tools that you can replicate in your clinics. Okay, so case taking, is not about just mechanically collecting data. Mechanical collection of data can be done by anybody. You don't need to be really an artist or a scientist or a homeopath or a doctor. But it is more than that. It is a journey that we take along with our patients. And sometimes this journey itself can become therapeutic to our patients. Sometimes the journey itself can bring about an awareness in our patients and in ourselves, which goes a long way. The more importance we give to our case taking, especially the initial case taking, the lesser headaches and heart pains and heartaches we will have with this patient later on. So if you took the case well the first time, it's going to avoid rework and tension later on. Correct? Now, there are different styles of case taking. Yeah, there are so many different methods in homeopathy. But it is true. I mean, it is understandable, right? Because homeopathy really is an individualistic science. And each homeopath is an individual. So he or she is going to bring his or her style, method, pattern, so to say, in this case-taking skill or space. So that's number one. And our case-taking technique is also going to be differing to whom we are treating. Is the patient in ICU? Is the patient with a deep pathological disease? Is he a child? Is he a severe psychiatric patient? Is he a pet? So our case taking does not necessarily have to be method centric or homeopath centric. It cannot be saying that, okay, I have this form, I have this checklist, and I have to fill all the boxes. It cannot be that way. You cannot decide before you start the case taking how it's going to be. So the first thumb rule for a good case taken is that can you be flexible? Can you go with the flow? Can you adapt? Can you make your case taking patient-centric? And it starts even before the patient meets you. So you will get some hints, you will get some data even before the patient enters your consulting. How they booked the appointment, were they desperate, were they okay with the waiting period, how did they talk to your staff, how did they behave in the waiting area, with your staff, with the relatives, with other patients in the waiting area, how did they deal up with payments, how did they kind of deal with the instructions they were given, all of that. So you can get a lot of important information even before you see the patient. I'll give you one example. So we had this one patient and finally he was prescribed cases. But I remember my staff telling me that he negotiated, he bargained a lot for money. But he was a sweet talker. He did not say, oh, why are you charging so much? Your consultation fee should be this much or whatever. He was a very, very sweet talker. He said, you know what? I also need to bring my wife. I have taken homeopathic treatment previously also. So he's trying to tell that, I'm going to bring my wife also. Why don't you give discount? He's telling us that, I have experience with homeopathy and homeopath. So he's trying to compare the consultations. So you get hints about the patient and the remedy the patient may or may not be needing through these areas as well. Another important step of case taking is to have a case record form. This is a very, very important thing. So if you all don't have a case record form in your clinics, I think it's a good time for you to start designing one. Because if the patient fills a case record form electronically or physically, before they come in for the consultation, you are preparing the patient. You're preparing the patient to the kind of questions you will be asking. You're preparing the patient to what to expect during the consultation. It helps them, jog their memory, to put their thoughts together. Oh, these are my complaints. This is how it started. This was when it started. These were the investigations. So they get a lot of time to prepare for the consultation and they don't feel lost. Okay. Also, the case record form, how it is filled. Did the patient fill it at all or didn't give it any importance? How did they fill? They filled it very methodically, underlined important things, highlighted important things, or filled it very shabbily. That also gives you some idea about the patient. You can go to our website, www.healingharmony.in, and download our case record form. We have a separate case record form for adult patients. We have separate for children. We also have a separate one where, the patient is just coming to us for, a sort of counseling or therapy session, a more sort of a wise process, for example. So you can look at it and try and customize what suits you. But it should have all the information, starting from the personal data of the patient to current history, past history, family history, physical generals, particulars, everything. So this is another tool that you must try and utilize. Now, the next important step also is the overview, the first few minutes of the consultation. Here, you're just doing a bird's eye view. You're just kind of scanning where the problem is, what the problem is, since when the problem is, what modifies it, what is the pace of the problem, what is the depth of the problem, how progressive is the problem, at what level the patient is. It's just kind of a scanning. And once you kind of do this zoom out, kind of scan everywhere, you then decide, okay, now I need to focus on this item, then I need to focus on this item. So you have to give enough time in the first few minutes to just kind of let the patient be, let him give you any and all general information that he has. Give him the space to talk. And then you be passive at that time and just see where this takes you. Another key item is observation. You can't just be looking at your computers or just filling up case record forms, Some of my assistants do that. They're just writing, they're just writing because they need to take every verbatim of the patient on the computer. But this is not going to work. You need to look at them. You need to have the eye contact so that you can see how is the patient sitting, how is his expression, how is her hand gestures, what is the posture. He or she is saying something, but the words don't mean what they are saying. So there could be an undertone. I'll give you an example. I had this one patient to whom lacleolinum was given. It's basically the remedy made from lion's milk. So the posture, the way the patient sat, he kind of commanded respect. He owned the space, almost intimidating to me. This is how he sat. He would put his hand like this and, like legs spread out wide and, the way he was talking. So that observation is important. Another patient, a young boy, disappointment in love and went into depression, left his job. He was doing hospitality. His wife, his girlfriend, he had, they broke up and she went to another country and he was completely depressed. He was just sitting like that, and he was almost trembling and just looking at me for some time and then lost the eye contact. And the mother had to give a lot of history. So that tells you that this patient, you're not going to be able to give remedies which are, let's say remedies like platina or remedies like lacleolinum. I'm not going to be able to give this remedy to this patient. Children cases, patients with autism or ADHD, non-verbal patient, observation is such a crucial step. Then comes the chief complaint. What has the patient come to you with? One is that, as we were taught in school, you're supposed to take location, sensation, modality, and concomitant. Yes, you have to. But you don't have to just take it for the heck of taking it. You need to go deep in each of this item. You need to be very, very exact. Understand that symptom, understand that complaint fully before you leave it and go to something else. You don't have to say that, oh, I have to collect so much data, so quickly I will go from one to another. Unless you are sure you have received all the complete information, you have left no stone unturned, you don't go to another step. So for example, patient says, patient came with general anxiety disorder. He says, I'm anxious all the time. I have anticipatory anxiety. I'm unable to work. That's not enough. You have to qualify this anxiety as much as possible. This patient who had anxiety, he would walk. As soon as he would get an anxiety panic attack, he would just keep pacing. He was very restless. In the middle of the night, he'll get up and he's just walking from one place to another. Along with anxiety, he had palpitations. Along with anxiety, he had to take deep breaths. Along with anxiety, when is it more? It's in the evening that was more. Whenever he would, hear the phone ring and hear some bad news, he would start developing anxiety. So you need to, whatever is the chief complaint or associated complaints, make a complete totality out of it. And a lot of us go wrong and get lost because we don't know the symptom in its exactness, in its totality. If you have that complete picture of that one symptom or one chief complaint, we can get a remedy, a similimum from there also. It can give you very, very good hints of where you should be looking for this patient. I'll give you one example of this 29 years old female who came with fibroadenoma. She was a widow at a very young age. She was not very educated. She belonged to a very low socioeconomic background. She was trying homeopathy for the first time. So the whole process of case taking was very new to her, very alien to her. And she absolutely had no idea of the sensation method. Yeah. So here comes a patient who has very physical complaint, and her expectation from the doctor is, ask me about his physical complaint and, make me better. Nature, dreams, cravings, aversion, thermals makes no sense to her. She doesn't have time for that in her life. So even when we focused, completely zoomed in on her fibroadenomas, we were able to kind of get very, very good hints of the remedy. So for example, her tumors were in both the mammoth. They were the pain, and they were very, very painful. It's not very common for a fibroadenoma to be painful. They were very painful. They were aggravated by touch. The pain was more before menses. Any motion, any slight motion would aggravate the pain, especially if she's traveling on the road and there are lots of potholes here in Mumbai. So, that jarring motion would also aggravate her pain. The pain was more at night. The pain was more when she would kind of walk down the stairs. So when we kind of take the complete totality, when we qualify the pain completely, we were getting quinine. It's a known remedy, it's a well-known remedy for, let's say tumors in the breast. But you see the exactness, the burning, the radiating, the descending aggravates. And then you have to complete the picture. You can't prescribe just on this. So when we complete the picture, from physical generals, from mental generals, nature, fears, hobbies, childhood, dreams, sleep, etc., we got little more hints from the patient, while she was not very open and very, I could never take her to the sensation. But, she said that she works very, very hard. She works 12, she's a single mother. She works 12 to 14 hours a day. From the background she comes, there's a lot of manual laborious work. She said, I have to take care of my children. I have to take complete responsibility for them. I don't want to get married again. And she lost her husband due to illness. He was on bed rest for a long time. And, she had to do a lot of work. It was very, very stressful for her. And his disease was very sudden, very unexpected. And she gets dreams of, violence. She gets dreams of children drowning. She gets dreams of snakes. So we got hints of the umbelliferae family of the plant kingdom, and we were able to complete the picture. So on one side, we have a complete, exact totality of her fibroadenoma, and another side, we were able to build a picture of the patient from her nature and whatever dream, whatever little we got. We could not go get a lot of details, but whatever we got, because we had a strong anchor in the chief complaint, we were able to prescribe her conayam, and it really, really helped. Another idea that I want to give you is about having peripheral vision. More often than not, what happens, especially when we are beginners, is that we start having a very tunnel vision. So for example, in the case talking process, if I'm at the section of physical generals, and I'm going to ask about cravings, so I'm only asking about cravings, and I'm recording, okay, the patient is saying that he has craving for salt, he has craving for fish, he has craving for bread, or whatever. And I'm only just jotting that down. But I think that's not the right way to do, because even in the craving, you could get a sensation, you could get a mental jump. For example, the patient may say, look, I can't, doctor, I cannot tolerate this item. I cannot tolerate this item. If I eat this slightest something, I will get this symptom. Even if I have little bit more milk, I will have gas. If this, then this happens. So I have to be very careful. I wash my vegetables, I boil my vegetables, I have bland food. So here, you are at the physical generals, but the rubric that you need to take maybe is cautious in the mind. Yeah. So have a peripheral vision, see what is happening. See what is happening in the surrounding space of the patient, and try to also focus on that. How is the patient comfortable with, presence of an assistant doctor in the cabin? Is the patient, if you have a registration form, which you should, has the patient consented for audio video recording? If he says no, what is his or her concern to not be comfortable with a video recording? Are you sure, doctor, you're not going to share this with anybody? My husband is also your patient. Are you sure it's going to be between you and me? They will talk in hushed tones. So you have a lot of other hints than whatever you're just recording on face value. Yeah, so this is also another important idea. Another aspect which I wanted to kind of highlight was the feedback that you receive from the patient's relative or attendant who has come. Yeah, this is also very, very important. Now, sometimes you can get carried away with what the relative or the attendant says. You have to be very careful that what the relative is saying is not his or her pattern, not his or her story. You're not prescribing for the relative or the patient, but whatever history he or she is giving is factual. And that factual information you can use to find out the remedy for our patient. So I'll give you an example. Some 60 years old woman, she had depression, and she came along with her husband, and she's sitting there in the cabin, and she has, she's just has a very blank, starey look, and her mouth is a little wide open like this, and she's just sitting there, and she's a little bit obese, and she says, I don't feel like doing anything. I don't feel like working. So I asked, how did it start? Just like that. What happened? Nothing. So I was trying to ask, is there any trigger? I mean, how did it all begin? She says, nothing. Anything else that is bothering you? She says, I feel like sleeping all the time. How do you feel? Bad. Everyone is doing everything. I can't. And I'm being a little, this is not how the patient said. So, okay, I have to change the tone how the patient said. So how do you feel? Bad. Everyone else is doing something I can't do. Very slow, very dull, low pace, without any facial expressions, very slowly she was talking. How does that feel? Everybody else is going out and doing something. Bad. What can everyone do that you can't? She just has a vacant look. She's not able to say anything. Tell us about your nature before depression. I was angry. What else? She can't say anything. On what things you would get angry? I don't know. What would you like to do earlier? I was at home only. What were your hobbies? Again, blank. She's not able to say anything. What do you like to do? She's not able to say anything. Any fears? I don't know. Who all stay with you? I'm trying hard to elicit something from the patient. And we all get cases like this. Is this common? Where the patient is not cooperating, not telling. Her chief complaint is as such that she's not able to say anything. What do we do? One is you observe. I'm observing. I told you that she's sitting, she's dull, she has a blank look, her mouth is open, she's staring, absent-minded, and she's dull. That's all. Now, what do we do? I can't prescribe just on this, right? So you have to elicit history from the attendant, the relative. In her case, it was her husband, and the husband says that she is very absent-minded, and she said of late what had happened that one of their son's wife, so the daughter-in-law was pregnant and she was expecting and our patient, she felt, how am I going to manage? And during the same time, the patient's mother-in-law was also sick and was on bed rest. So she constantly felt, how am I going to manage so many things? A grandchild, a mother-in-law who was sick, and she kind of collapsed. And the husband says that, what, we have 4 helps at house. So practically, my wife doesn't have to do anything. She does 10% work as compared to the other women in the family, but she's always been a little slow. She cannot handle work pressure. Even when my son had gotten married, that time she was not able to participate. I had to, take help of other relatives to do things in the house. She's generally nervous in the presence of strangers. She was also, foolishly trying to dominate. She was trying to, when we got married earlier, she would try to ask questions. She'll keep nagging, but they were all foolish. It was just a facade. She was not able to do it. And sometimes what used to happen was that she will sleep and then she'll keep walking. She will sleep for some time and she will go and see in another room, is there somebody in another room? She could get hysterical. She'll keep opening the doors and the windows and she will see if there is somebody outside. Did somebody call her? She also had a history of some seizures. Whenever the husband and wife would have fights, she would kind of have some sort of convulsions. If the husband would scold her, she would have convulsions. And this lasted for something like 5 years after their marriage. And after that, it stopped. And then instead of the convulsions and the seizures, she would go into this periodical depressive phases. So that's the history that we got from the husband. So the important history was the observation and the information that we received from the husband. And this patient, we just recently had a follow-up, and Krutika, she's on the call, she can tell you she's done so brilliantly. She's come out, she goes out, she travels, she meets people. She was completely gone. Case of antidepressants has been already, we've started tapering it off, and she's doing very, very well. So you could repertorize. So your case taking can happen anytime. I'm just trying to tell you the avenues in which your case taking can start and end. And it doesn't have to be method-centric. It doesn't have to be a form or a checklist that you have or preset notion that you have. You will have to adapt and flex and bend based on the patient who is sitting in front of you. Okay, so we gave this patient Helleborus niger and it fitted, the repertory symptoms, from a kingdom perspective, from a sensation perspective, from the keynotes of the remedy to the subclass understanding, superclass understanding, PM understanding, everything came together. And that when everything comes together, then you know you've hit the jackpot, and you're very confident the patient will do well. Another item I want to highlight now is that the symptoms or the items that the patient is telling you, whether they are lukewarm or they are striking, like, are they like when you take it, when you take a hot cup of tea or coffee and you burn, you can burn your finger. Is that like that? Or it's like something which you can, quickly drink? Because if they are lukewarm symptoms, they are not going to help you. We need to find PQRS. You should look at it. So you can't base your prescription or you can't fill up your repertory chart with saying the patient is introvert. Patient needs company. Patient is timid. Patient has general cravings for sweets, which will have like 300 remedies. So your symptoms have to be like really striking. It should be really PQRS, really characteristic. Only then it will work. Only then you put that in your repertorial chart, and don't fill your repertory with any and all the symptoms that you get. Otherwise, it's just going to be a maze. There will be no method in it, and you are going to be completely lost, my friends. Yeah. So see, are the symptoms peculiar? Is it leading you somewhere? Is it making sense? Or is complete nonsense? If it is complete nonsense, grab those symptoms, put it in your kitty. You want that complete nonsense. What to do with that nonsense or what to do with that striking symptom is second step. We will learn that, if I don't know what to do, so I will not take it. That's the wrong attitude. I don't know what to do with it, but this I think is very, very important, very, very PQRS. Out of the box, you take it. That's the first step. So don't ignore just because you don't know. All right. So, case taking is about understanding the patient, and all of us. And I am also guilty of this. So no, I don't think anybody who says that they have not gone through this or they don't face this hazard day in and day out in their practice, I don't think they're being honest. So sometimes we are so desperate that we want to find the remedy, and we make the whole case taking centric to find the remedy for the patient. And that's where we go wrong. The best cases, the success stories that I have or Prajakta has is when we are easy with our case taking, when we are not desperate to find the remedy. The remedy reveals itself. It may sound philosophical, it may sound, very mystical, but it is true. And I've learned this through practice. When I'm very, very focused to find a remedy, I often miss it out. When I just let it be, when I enjoy the process, I be present, I'm actually providing a open ear, like being present, being available to him or her in that moment, the patient does well. He's able to understand, he's able to open up. It's so much better. Another thing is, we often get distracted during our case taking. So, we have WhatsApp web now. So we have WhatsApp messages coming in. You have another patient in the waiting area. Somebody is pinging you. I think it is important that you make case taking as a very, very sacred space. If you're able to make your case taking a very, very sacred space, it is going to shift a lot of things in your practice. Not just for your patients, but for yourself, for your own mental and physical peace. Your personality, your inner core starts changing. And I'm being very, very honest. So give yourself this space at this 1 hour, this 30 minutes, this 2 hours. I'm dedicated to this patient, and I'm going to be whole, and I'm going to be present, and I'm going to be honest to this time. This commitment, you should take an oath before you start the case. Another idea is during the case taking, what happens? You start interpreting, or you start putting up, rubrics in the repertory sheet. I think we should try and avoid it as far as possible. Sometimes to take real-time rubrics, something very peculiar comes up, very, very peculiar, like that hot cup of chai and it burns your tongue. If something comes up, it's a good idea to put in the repertory, because then it will narrow down your search. But as a general thumb of rule, avoid doing that. Avoid. They say, try and be unbiased in whatever human way you can be. I think it's going to help. Whatever little you can, whatever little is more. So whatever you do is enough. The more is more. Whatever little you can do to improve this is better. Another is, one is understanding the patient, and another is, oh, I think he said that. Oh, I think he meant this way. No. That is not what you need to do in case taking or case analysis. What the patient said, exactly that. You understand that. Don't interpret, don't think. And keep asking until you completely understand. And if you're genuine, if you're genuinely taking interest in the patient's story, in what the patient is telling you, they reciprocate. If you're not being honest, or if you're just collecting for the heck, if you're doing a mechanical job, they will get irritated. They will say, ek hi question, how many times you're going to ask? The same question this doctor is asking me again and again. Is he or she mad? They can get irritated and annoyed, which itself could be a rubric. But what I'm trying to say is, if you put your genuineness in it, most of the patients cooperate, and they will cooperate with your case taking technique. You can even be honest to them that this is the key step. If you help me here, you support the tailor who's taking, if you go for a custom made suit, the tailor will take all sorts of measurements, arms and wrist and all sorts of, you cooperate, right? Similarly, this is, if I have to make a tailor-made solution for you, this is what I need from you, and please cooperate. And mostly they do. So the idea is to find the most characteristic symptom. Now, whether it's a local symptom, it's a general symptom, it's a mental symptom, doesn't matter. This is an example which Dr. Sankaran gives very often. He says that you have to find the center of the patient. You have to find the center of the room. Now, whether you find the center of the room from the window 1, from the window 2, from window 3, window 4, doesn't matter. Or you just open the door, doesn't matter. From every angle you look, you're going to look at the same center if you look hard enough. And if you zoom in and focus, complete it, make a complete totality, you can find the most characteristic symptom anywhere. So I will do a quick time check to see, okay, we have some time. So I'm going to introduce you to the idea of levels in case taking. Yeah. So while Dr. Sankaran developed this idea, he kind of categorized and, he gave us a path that these are the 7 levels. I also want to tell you that this is not necessarily true for only sensation method practitioners. So I'm not talking about a method. I'm talking to you about a process. I'm trying to give you tools that can help you in case taking. Whether you are following X method or Z method, does not matter. Yeah. So the 7 levels are, you start from the name, fact, feeling, imagination, sensation, energy, and witness, or the 7th level. So the idea is, as you go from top to bottom, you are starting like this and you're going down a funnel. So you're kind of going round and round, and you're trying to hit the very center. So you go down the level to the very, very core or central part of the patient. That's the idea. So let's say if the patient is at the level of name or fact, or you are a homeopath who generally lives his or her life at a very, you are a person who is very practical, very logical. You want fast results. You want to make sure that homeopathy is scientific. You want to prove it. You're a very, very name and a fact level person. You might end up practicing like this. So what is an example? For example, the patient has migraine or BP. His right kidney is affected, or the left kidney has a stone, or it started since the morning of 1982, it's aggravated in winter, it's aggravated by hot milk, cold milk, whatever. These are all names and facts. Okay, so diagnosis, reports, investigational reports, facts. This is asthma, this is a case of depression. These are all names, in fact. So a lot of homeopaths practice at the level of name, in fact, right? A lot of it is also clinical repertory, based on clinical understanding. You've seen patient after patient, and clinically you have seen. So, for example, Dr. Farooq Master says, no, for ringworm, he says, use tellurium LM1 and intermittent, give bacillinum 1M. It works. It works at least in 2 patients out of 10 if you want to practice just like that. Or another couple of remedies are, let's say, uranium nitricum for any side effects of chemotherapy. Or if there is a alcoholic addiction, you start with sulfur. In cases of autism, you start with 1 dose of DPT. So you could, because clinically, a lot of clinical work has been done, and these remedies have helped a vast majority of patients. But it may not help. This is not like true homeopathy. No, it is not tailor-made solution. It is like going to the mall and, buying something small, medium, large. Everybody is not so small, medium, large, right? So this is like small, medium, large of the dress. It's not custom made. So it will not give you permanent result. It will not give you a gentle result. You will not see the Herring's law of cure here. It may help the patient symptomatically, and you could prescribe. And sometimes you have to. For example, I had a case of breast cancer, and very severe case, surgery and advanced, and chemo, radio, a lot of the drill. So I did not have time. I wanted to help the patient. So I started with the Banerjee protocol. And in my own practice, Prajakta and I both have seen great results with uranium nitricum. So we started with it because we wanted to do something for the patient. But when things settled a little bit, we took a deeper history. We tried to understand the patient and gave a constitutional remedy to the patient. And the patient was doing well for several months. All the side effects of chemo were taken care of, etc. The surgery went well, and everything like that. And then the patient developed seroma after radiotherapy, not healing. No matter what we gave, we repeated our constitutional remedy, gave it in different potency. We reworked, we took the case again to see, are we missing something? Is this the correct remedy? And every time we would come to it. So now we are in a position that now what do we do? This is clearly an ailment from of radiotherapy. After the radiotherapy, this has started and it is not healing. So we gave her radium brome, and the seroma completely resolved. The surgeon had asked her to do a resurgery for this, but it resolved with radium brome. So you will have to be flexible also in your approach of how you're dealing with the patient. Yeah. So even at the level of name and fact, if you go deep, if you take a complete totality, if you find the exactness, you can get the glimpses of the core of the patient. Another level, the third level, when you go deeper, is the feeling. I feel angry, I feel sad, I'm irritated today, I feel depressed today. These are the levels of feeling. This is how humans talk. This is a very common, this is the most easy to ascertain. Most of your patients can easily give you these symptoms. They can tell you that I'm feeling like this, my nature is like this, my nature is like that. They can easily tell you. It's not a very difficult job. So as a homeopath, you can easily elicit this. Now, the problem is, these are also widely put in the repertory. So you can see timid or irritability or anger, aggravated contradiction. You will see so many remedies. It's so widely represented. It's very, very difficult to be very sure of your prescription with these. These will not help you. You cannot prescribe a patient a deep acting similimum remedy with just feelings, not on the face value. But if you ask the patient, okay, what does sadness mean to you? If you are able to qualify this emotion, what happens when you feel sad? What is the effect of the sadness on you? This is a very important question. You can write it down and bold it. What is the effect of being irritated? What is the effect when nobody listens to you? What does it do to you? How does it feel inside? Then you take the patient in that funnel a little one level deeper. And when you go a little deeper, you can find a better remedy. Now, I wanted to discuss this one case here at this juncture. This is a lady, an old woman. She had psoriasis only on her palms, both her palms full of psoriasis. She had to wear gloves and do everything on her life. And she had to make, she had to, what is it called? Like when you're making the dough for the Indian chapatis, the Indian bread, you have to kind of knead the dough. She would have to wear gloves into it. So she was completely incapacitated, and it would have cracks and it would bleed, and sometimes there would be pus. It was very, very horrible. And she said that, you know what, doctor, even Jesus, he was nailed exactly here. And I feel sometimes that Jesus must have had so much pain. So he's telling me, why don't you are my disciple, you're my child, share my pain a little bit. So I think I'm sharing Jesus's pain. And she was not doing better. I think we struggled to find a remedy for a long time. If Prajakta is here, she can sympathize that how long she was with us, and she would not leave us. She would not complain. She would kind of treat us like her daughters and say, it's not helping, it's paining, whatever, but she would never leave us. She was very helpful, very friendly, always would help people, etc. So based on the physical particular exactness that, eruptions, psoriasis on the palms, there were only 30 remedies, and taking some of her mental generals, which were very peculiar. Yeah, which was not like she's just compassionate or she's just affectionate or she's just clinging, not like that. It had a lot of marks. It was very, very important. When we clubbed these two, then we said that, okay, phosphorus is really coming out so well. It meets the entire picture. We gave her phosphorus and she was completely better. Yeah. So sometimes, even if you have only, the patient is not going beyond feelings, you're just having that. But if you're able to find some anchor, in the location, in the sensation, in the modality, in the concomitant, anywhere, in the cravings, you can still find a very good simillimum and help your patients. Okay. So what is the next level? So I said, go little, what is the effect of sadness on you? And the patient may say, when I'm sad, I feel as if I'm down in the dumps, and as if I feel I'm all alone, as if I've been kicked out from my own house. I'm like that orphan dog, who's kicked out, like the street dog, who nobody cares about. He doesn't have the comfort. He has to struggle for everything. So now that sadness is as if I'm a dog who is kicked out. I'm a street dog. This is not feeling. This is a qualification of her sadness. This is an item which says that is delusion. It is not factual. This emotion is basically, it's a perception that the patient has. It's as though he sees this is life. This is kind of the root of the disease, Dr. Sankaran said, that you're seeing something what is not there. You're wearing your perception. You're wearing your glasses. This is delusion. This is imagination. My mother-in-law is like a Hitler. She's so cruel. My mother-in-law is really not a Hitler, but she perceives the mother-in-law like a Hitler. That's the perception. That's the level of delusion. From here, you can go deeper. So you can, ask, okay, what is the effect of that? How does that feel when she's cruel and she's behaving like a Hitler? What is the effect on you? And you will find something very beautiful. If you stay at, some superficial level, you'll miss the essence of the patient. Yeah. So, how does this anger feel? What is the effect of it when she behaves like that, when she behaves like a Hitler? What happens in your head, chest, abdomen, hands and legs? And you go deeper. You find what is the core, what is the central element in the case. Now, dreams, fears, hobbies, they are all at the level of delusion. So they also can give you a good insight of the perception that the patient has, what pattern the patient has. So you can start your case with that it's a case of headache, which is a name level. the headache is more on the left side or right side. It's aggravated in the morning or evening, or when I go in the sun. These are facts. And when I have a headache, I feel very, very irritable. That's an emotion. And what does that irritation do to you? I feel as if everybody is attacking me. Nobody's really attacking the person, no, but everybody's as if everybody's just gotten on to me. They're attacking me with their words, with their comments. That is a delusion. And what is the experience of this attack? It's like a sharp knife. I feel stabbed in my heart. I feel that my body is torn apart. My chest is apart and they're stabbing, they're kind of pulling it out and they're putting the knife and, just stabbing my heart with the hand gest. That is the sensation. That is a level deeper. And if you're able to elicit that, it's a whole new world. And, you can really reach to a very good stimulum. So I'll give you one example of this 16 years old female patient. She was in her 10th standard. And when she came, she was preparing for her 10th board exams. And the complaint was that she was not able to study. She was not able to focus. She was not able to adhere to the syllabus. And her board exams were in the next 2 months. And she had lots of acne, like the full face was full of acne and acne scars, even the back, etc. And she had very strong PMS. So during the case taking, we asked about hobbies, and in that hobbies, one of the items she said was that I love watching movies. So what kind of movies you like? I like web series more than movies. I like fantasies. I like thrillers. I like Harry Potter. I like How to Train a Dragon. I like the fantasy one. What do you mean by the fantasy one? Something that is not scientifically proven. Something which is, something which is very, very fictional. That's what is fantasy. And how does it feel to be in this fantasy world? I would like to find out why it is not real. So for example, if I have a table of wood in front of her, she was in the consultation room and she said, there's this table. I will not say this is a table. I will say, what is this table made of? What type of wood was used? So she says, I'm not into the harsh reality. So which was odd. So I asked her, what is harsh reality? She says, harsh reality is having a 9-to-5 job. Harsh reality is just sitting, then brushing your teeth, then going to work and have a routine and then going back to sleep. Harsh reality is to not have dreams at all. So I ask her, what is the experience of not having dreams? You see the line of questioning in the case taking. How is it feel to not have dreams? She says, my grandmother, she has absolute no dreams. And I can't imagine what kind of life is that. She's so unfortunate to not have any dreams. So I asked her, tell me about some dreams. So she says, my dreams are weird, they're exciting. Bad dreams are boring, but most of my dreams are very, very exciting. And then she goes on to describe a few of her dreams, and they are full of color. She sees colorful houses, she sees mountains, she sees cartoons, somebody's attacking her, she's running, she's trying to rescue people. And she goes on and she describes, there are these fluorescent colors and purple color and blue color and magenta color. And she goes on in great length to describe this. So you see, this gives you a great access to know what this patient's reality is. Her reality is, she doesn't find life in the mundane jobs. She doesn't like to study for the board exam. She would rather watch a web series. She would rather do art. She would go in her fantasy world, which is colorful, which is bright. And she says, I want to sleep because I want to have dreams. If I'm not going to have a dream, what's the point of sleeping? It's waste of time. So you see, from here, you could just take dreams of colorful or dreams vivid. You could put it in the repertory. But you can say the dream is a great opportunity for you to see how does that dream feel? What is the experience in the dream? And is that experience common to anything else in other areas? Did you find a common thread? Does this bright colors and boring and excitement, is it there in her nature? Is it there in her past history? It is there in her chief complaint. It is there in her hobbies. If it is there, then it is the most central thing, and you can base your prescription on this. So sensation, the case taking, when you go very, very deep and you reach this level, when the patient finds it hard to describe. The patients find it hard to describe it without using their hands. The patient has to, they become uncomfortable. And it is there everywhere. You probe the childhood, you find that. You probe the dreams, you find that. You probe the fears, you find that. In the end, if you come to something common, which is global, which is not at the level of mind, which is not at the level of the body, which is beyond mind and beyond body, that is the deepest level, that I'm feeling trapped and suffocated. I need freedom. It can be in her asthma, and it can be in her life situation that she's always feeling trapped. Yeah. And this trap, this sensation, she shares not as a human emotion. No, everybody feels angry, everybody feels sad, everybody is laughing at some point. These are all human emotions. Delusions are also humans. I'm feeling like a Hitler. I'm feeling like, my friend is very catty. This is all delusion. I'm feeling as if I'm kicked out of the house. Maybe still human level. But sensation we share with the non-human world. And I don't want to talk about this in great length right now because this is not the topic. But it's just to say that you can bring your case taking from a little bit superficial level all the way to the very core, something which is very central, which keeps repeating at the physical, mental, emotional, dreams, everywhere. Yeah. That is the core of the patient. So in this same patient, this girl, young woman that we were talking about, the same thing, the same idea of vivid colors, she told in her hobbies also. She says, I love embroidery, I like art, I like pottery, I like painting. And that time I feel excited. There is a sense of burning. I'm very hyper-focused. And, the opposite of excitement is to, be bored and not have life. And she talks about at great length about these vivid colors which you see in cathedrals, etc. So it was not just the dreams, it was confirmed in other levels. And based on that, we found something very central of the patient. We repertorized it, and we kind of also, used the other concepts of the sensation and the kingdom, and we gave her cannabis, and the patient it really. So this is just an idea. So when you go deeper like this, in your case taking, when you kind of from zooming out, from the bird's eye view, when you zoom in, when you try to find exact what is the core, you see that, the space becomes a little more silent. The space can become a little bit more intense, and the patient will use energy. They will use sounds. They will use gestures. They will use movement. They can use colors, and you know that this is the deepest level because words are not enough here. So you can start your case taking with sort of having a conversation as if you're meeting a friend over a cup of tea or coffee. But then after that, you have to at some point zoom out, then zoom in, go very deep, as deep as possible in that case, and then you can. You can use other tools in your case taking like art, doodling, that can give you. You can use meditative processes, you can use voice processes, and things like that to find that deepest level in your case taking. So this is all I had to talk today. At this point, I'm just going to pause. And I'm quite surprised and happy. I'm almost on time. This is a little rare phenomenon with me. But at this point, I want to see if there are any questions or any comments or feedback by anybody. Did it make sense? Did it? I hope it made sense to you. Let me know. You can put it on the chat, or if you like, you can unmute yourself too. Saskin, do we have anything? Okay, let me open my chat window. Yeah. Thank you. D. Morris, am I saying it right? Thank you. Okay, what is Dr. Namita saying? What questions can be asked if the patient says has negative thoughts? So first understand what kind of, when you say negative thoughts, see in psychiatric patients, in psychiatric diseases, sometimes it's important to focus on the symptoms. Don't say that, if the patient is depressive or the patient has schizophrenia, this is a common symptom of schizophrenia. This is a common symptom of depression, and don't neglect. That is, especially in psychiatric cases, I've learned from Dr. Gandhi, this is not true. Investigate that. So when you say negative thoughts, can you describe these negative thoughts? What do you mean by these negative thoughts? How do you feel when you get these negative thoughts? What changes happen in your body when you have these negative thoughts? What is the effect of these negative thoughts on you? These are some of the questions you can ask, and based on the answer the patient gives you, you can take it ahead. Yeah, I hope that helps you, Namrita. Okay. All right, then.
There is one more question, Preety. Many a times a case don't go beyond delusion. Once he gave a delusion, what to do?
So just say, give me an example of the delusion. Like I will give my examples, but if it comes from you in any of your patients, that will help me to answer better. So it is common, especially if you are a new practitioner, and not new, I mean, I face that also sometimes. I can't go beyond delusion. It happens. Not all my patients go deeper than, I mean, it's not 100% mark, but that's what I'm trying to say, that if you have a complete totality of any level, of the name level, fact level, emotion level, delusion level, you can still make a very, very good prescription. Yeah, at the physical general level. So it is still possible. So otherwise, half of us would be out of business. If everybody, we had to rely only to go to sensation to practice homeopathy, I don't think that is true, right? Everybody has results. People who just give keynote prescriptions also have good results. So it will still work. So don't get disheartened. But Prajakta, did she or he tell you the delusion example?
No.
Okay. So let me say a delusion. If I use the same example, I feel as if, I'm like a street dog. I don't have somebody, I don't have a caregiver. So this is a delusion. It's an image. It's an imagination that I'm like a street dog. I don't have a roof over my head. I'm kicked out of my own house. So what is the experience of being that? Just tell this a little more. Describe this situation, close your eyes and imagine that there is a street dog. How does that street dog feel? So this is third person. So if the patient can't say that, okay, if you were the street dog, how you feel if you're kicked out? What is the experience? Sometimes they get blocked. They can't go. So you can use the method, say, forget about you. Forget that we were talking about you, your situation, your family, your life. Just keep it aside for one moment. Just imagine this dog completely. Close your eyes and use all your imaginations. What is the color of the dog? Where is the dog? How is he looking? What is the situation? Whether it is day or night. So just give them some space and time so that they can fully visualize it. You can say use all your 5 senses to do that. And then imagine how that dog must be feeling. You can see, it's dark outside and it's stormy and it's raining. He has not found food. And there are other dogs, other groups of, there's another, it's not a herd, whatever that group of dogs is called, I forget the name. So, they are not allowing me in that territory and I am all alone and I'm trembling. You have to kind of let that imagination become so real that from that imagination, they can go to the next step. I feel all alone. It is so scary. My entire body is just stiffening up and I feel this sensation that, this is it. why like this? It's just stiffening up. It's tightening here in the shoulder. It's tightening in my abdomen. My pit of the stomach is going in. And you see, it can happen that way. So you've gone deeper. So now the dog is not important. Now you focus on this tightening up of the muscles in the shoulder and the abdomen. That is the sensation. I hope that answers your question in some way.
Yeah. There is one more question. Any suggestion to take case of relatives which obviously don't open up easily?
Yeah. So you mean if the patient is your relative, it's a known person, how do you take the case? It is a difficult situation because they might not open up. You could refer, if possible, you could refer. Or what I do, because sometimes they don't want to be referred. No, they say, you are a homeopath, you are a dear friend, you are my, aunt or uncle or niece or whatever. You have to take the case. So then you have to kind of build confidence and explain them the process, that whatever we discuss right now is between you and me. And forget that we are related. Whatever this information is going to help me. There is no judgment. There is nothing. There is no psychoanalysis. Whatever we will discuss will help me to find your remedy. This is the process of homeopathy. Unfortunately, there is no other way. If they understand, they will open up. Another way is that you try and use peripheral vision. You try and use the information that is easily accessible and try and find a totality there. So in the chief complaint, completely like squeeze out the juice, that lemon should be completely squeezed to get every qualifying symptom of the chief complaint. And you will get lots of hints. Dreams, they can be very comfortable with sharing their dreams. So you can still find ways, tricks to do it. In my experience, wise processes also a very good way in such patients. Why? Because it completely bypasses emotion. It completely bypasses everything else. It's completely depersonalizing and it's completely third person. It's a completely different method. So all the human story you are bypassing. See, your relative is uncomfortable discussing his human qualities with you. So that, there are ways that we can do it. Yeah. Okay. I hope
question. Yeah.
Hmm.
When we ask the relatives about the patient, they could also say the perception that they have of the person.
Yeah.
So how to deal with that?
Yeah, it's very important. So I gave you an example of that lady with depression. No? So it is possible. So you have to be very careful. Like let's say if the husband is giving history for the wife, you have to be very careful. Is he talking about himself, his story, his glasses, his delusion of his wife, or is he telling really about the wife? So you have to be very careful that the fact, you collect only facts. So if he says, she's always like this, she's careless only, she's just, she's always like this, she's behaved like this. So give me example where she has been careful. So you ask objective evidence and don't just rely on loose statements. Yeah. So you kind of counter question, you give and confirm that in 2 or more areas. So if the relative says the same thing in 2 or 3 different occasions at different time and space, then it's a reliable information. Yeah. So try and remain factual, try and remain open to examples. Give me an example when she was careless, or how she behaves in stressful situations. So when you ask some open-ended questions and you be objective, you can rule out a lot of perceptions of the attendant or the relative.
Yeah, and also I feel we can ask, what are your observations about that individual or of a child when we are taking the case? So the observations are very objective and very neutral. It doesn't have any perception about that individual. So that can also...
Where are you, Prajakta? Such important information you're giving and you're hiding. I can't see you.
You can see me now.
Again. All
Yeah.
right. So yeah, that's a very important thing Prajakta said, that it's important that observations. And in children cases, the mother and the father are only going to tell you, right? The relative is going to tell you. In a very severely disabled patient, in severe psychiatric patients, so they are the only ones. So observations is a very, very good example, you know. Yeah, true.
Yeah, I think that's all. All these questions, I think we have answered almost all.
All right. Good. So I think we are at the end of this session. I hope this was useful. I hope we were able to bring a little more practicality to this generally thought as a theoretic session. Case taking is the base of everything that we do. You're never going to come to a good result. You're never going to be a successful homeopath without a good case taking. And if you do it right the first time, trust me, they're not going to keep calling you, messaging you at odd times, harassing your assistant doctors. So do it right the first time. Give it all your time and space. And for me, it's the most wonderful part of being homeopath. So try doing that. And also, before we close, I want to really, if you are very serious about your homeopathic practice and you're very new to the practicalities of homeopathy, please join Classroom to Clinic. This is going to be a phenomenal 6-month journey. We are starting next year in March, so you have a lot of time to prepare and arrange your schedule around that. Do join. If Taskin or somebody, can you put the link of that, how people can register for that session? And it is very, very economically priced, because we know that you all are students and it's not about, and it's difficult to arrange the finances, but it is going to revolutionize the way you practice. So do join that course. Prajakta, myself, Charuvan, and Kamlesh, we're going to be doing it together. So that's going to be very helpful. With that, thank you so much, and bye-bye, everybody. Take care.
Bye.